We want to solve this problem. We want to solve family separation. I don't want children taken away from parents. We need Democrat support.
If there is no consequence to an illegal entry, the problem set keeps growing and growing and growing.
DOJ Inspector General confirming he is in fact investigating anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok.
They prejudged the outcome of the Hillary Clinton investigation before the investigation ended. And these exact same FBI agents prejudged the outcome of the Russia investigation before it even began. That is textbook bias.
The United States is officially withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council.
This decision, in many respects, has been decades in the making.
God loves you. If you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it.
Todd Rundgren singing our song for 7 o'clock here at Fox and Friends for this hour. Look who's joining us for the A Block. It's former Republican congressman from the great state of Utah. He ran the Oversight Committee, and he's a Fox News contributor. He's Jason Chaffetz.
There's nothing going on in the news. We have nothing to talk to you about.
I'm fired. This is like Christmas. When you have a hearing like this, I love it.
Oh, yeah, it was. And by the way, that was his preferred introductory music. Just like in baseball.
Music.
Yeah, that's your walkout music. He wants to party.
It's in my contract.
Right. So yesterday, as you were not allowed in there, but you were allowed to watch it, here are some highlights from the hearing at the House. Now, they went on for 5 hours. Each guy outside the chairman gets 5 minutes. So 70 people had questions for Michael Horowitz. Most of the Democrats talked about other things. Republicans didn't. Watch.
They prejudged the outcome of the Hillary Clinton investigation before the investigation ended. And these exact same FBI agents and attorneys prejudged the outcome of the Russia investigation before it even began.
Do you believe this text shows political bias?
I think as we found, it clearly shows a biased state of mind.
Do you believe the political bias shown by this text had an effect on the initiation of the Russia investigation?
That's a matter we've got under review and are looking at right now.
Okay, so how would you grade his performance at answering the questions from the lawmakers?
A plus. We have, the Inspector General, I think, demonstrated you can do a serious investigation without compromising. It didn't leak out in advance. And he has now demonstrated some things that are really going to play out much more serious than what we've seen before. Well, it's very difficult to prove somebody's, when you look at intent and what they're going after, it's very difficult to prove why you didn't do something.
Right.
But it is much more easy to demonstrate and prove why you actually did something. Did they start allocating funds? Did they actually start spending money? Did they issue subpoenas? All these types of things are under consideration. And I do think that people have been referred to the Office of Professional Responsibility. That's been in motion for a couple of months. So there's been a lot of talk about why are these people still working there? I think the seminal question is, why do they still have security clearances? You don't have a security clearance, you're done that day. And they've known about this for a long time.
Well, and taxpayers are paying for it. Did you hear the story yesterday that Strzok allegedly was escorted out of the FBI?
Still working there.
Still working there. They have rights as federal employees. I'm not saying it is right, but they have rights. They can go through 30 days, 60-day reviews. They can appeal. They can go through a very long, extended process that may have started months ago.
It's amazing that he wants the scrutiny, and they went through who is left. Comey, fired. McCabe, fired, had lied, criminal referral. Page, gone. You have the Baker, who's gone. Now, Peter Strzok in particular, and Lisa Page, we know. Yesterday, we also found out about FBI attorney number 2, who is anonymous, said some heinous things, and agent number 5. They are Kevin Kleinsmith and Sally Moyer. Why do you think their names are secret, and still some others are, yet we know the others?
I think what you've seen was Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan have really been kind of spearheading, flushing these people out. The serious allegation out there, the serious question is, were the 302s, the investigative document that they're looking at, and were some of their testimony, did they actually get manipulated?
Change it.
Did it change along the way? And now they've asked the Inspector General to go back and look at that.
Right.
Mike Lee, if you go back and look at the Senate, he flushed out that the Inspector General, it took 4 iterations. He actually had to go to the Department of Defense to extract out the machine. This is the FBI. They couldn't extract their own emails and their own text messages? Come on.
But
nobody believes that.
Isn't that so fishy? And a number of your former colleagues on the Republican side said, you know, the most damaging and damning of all the text messages was released to the from the Department of Justice to the congressional Republicans the day that the IG report came out, and that was, hey, he's not going to become president of the United States, is he? No, we'll stop it.
So the Inspector General does this about the Clinton investigation, and I still think they were wrong to not prosecute her.
About bias.
Yeah, but the other part, did they engage in FISA abuse? Did they go and get warrants to spy? That's a work in motion. It's been in motion for probably 8 or 9 months. That's where you ultimately may see people in handcuffs.
And also, the Inspector General confirms he's reviewing whether Strzok's anti-Trump bias impacted the launch of the Russian probe, which goes back to what Rudy said yesterday.
That's right.
It was launched under false premises.
And remember, Jim Comey, he's the one that actually made the decisions about whether or not to prosecute, because the White House was compromised, because President Obama said stuff that was inappropriate, because Attorney General Loretta Lynch acted inappropriately. Those are all things, and that's why I think Comey comes out of this looking worse than ever. He's in trouble.
Let's talk about immigration. My gosh, we've seen all these images of parents being separated from their kids. No one wants that, of course. What do Republicans and Democrats need to do? What do your former colleagues need to do to fix this?
You tried to fix this back in the day.
I actually had an asylum reform bill that passed out of the Judiciary Committee in March of 2015. They never brought it to the bill to the floor of the House.
Would that have addressed the separation
It did.
of families?
In fact, I went back and looked at the press release I put out and said we want to accelerate the reunification of children and parents, and you got to fix asylum reform. Here's the problem in Congress, and I'm very critical of our own Republican leadership. Vote. It's one thing to go out and talk about these things, and every time you get a comprehensive package, then there's something that everybody hates about it. Bring it up and vote. Let the will of the Congress work its way. Ultimately, President Trump gets to make this decision, because there's no way they're going to pass a veto-proof bill.
Jason, last night the president told the conference, the Republican conference, you got to pass something. And he's regarding it, he said, we have to take care of separation. It's too nasty. Too nasty.
Leadership repeatedly makes the mistake of thinking that anything that comes up for a vote that they're responsible for passing. I don't think so. I think you need to put those bills, those individual questions up, let people vote on them.
On the record.
If they fail, they fail. But get on the record. Enough of these people grandstanding and heckling the president.
You know better than anybody. You need organization. And if the president would pick a bill, it's important for the president to pick one so they know where they stand.
Then they need to write it down on a piece of paper. I mean, the president...
Because the president has flipped and left him out to dry, for example, on the budget.
No, I don't think so, because if you go back and look... Explain to me exactly what these bills are. You know, they're not...
One of them is being written right now.
Yeah, they're still,
but what about
a work in motion.
Democrats going to sign it? Schumer said the legislation is not the way to go, that the president needs to deal with this.
In concept, if you take a base bill and then have amendments that are offered into it, let the Congress work its will.
What would work, though? What would work to get Republicans and Democrats
Everybody
on board?
wants to accelerate the idea. They don't like the separation. Nobody likes that.
Can you do a bill with just the separation issue? Don't add anything else?
I don't, because you're going to create this incentive then to not go to the ports of entry. Look, if you're in El Salvador and you want to have your family together and you want to claim asylum, go to the United States Embassy in El Salvador. But Democrats are never going to join in that effort. They want people to come up and just get into the country.
What's frustrating the Border Patrol is they know their game in the system.
Yes.
They know how to do it. And there's refugees, there's people who are desperate being chased by gangs, okay? But there's others that say, I know how to get you in, and this is how to, and that's what, guess who knows that? John Kelly, because when he was a Marine, he had Southern Command. So he met with these heads of government, says, you got to stop your people from storming our border. Then he becomes Homeland Security Secretary. He even knows it better and says it might come to the point where we have to separate families to send a message that this has got to stop. But Mark Walker said this, and tell me if you think it's true. There's a storm brewing off the coast, and if we don't handle this in the next 4 to 5 days, this could stick all the way through November. He's a Republican in North Carolina. Is he right politically?
He is right, because
4 to 5 days.
If you look at the congressional calendar, by the time you get to the end of July, they're pretty much not in session until the election. So
and this is what keeps in everyone's mind.
This is what keeps it in everybody's mind. That's why what Senator Schumer is saying is very dangerous. Remember what Secretary Nielsen said, 600,000 people in the asylum backlog case. They know how to game this. That surge started under Obama. We introduced the bill in the House. We got it passed out of the Judiciary Committee back in 2015, but they never did anything.
What did you make of just the tone of what happened on Capitol Hill yesterday? For instance, it looks like an intern used the F word, F-U, President Trump. And then you've got the members of the one or two members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus heckling the President of the United States.
Oh, I saw like 6 of them. They knew exactly what they were doing. Republicans meet in the Capitol, in what's called HC5. They went and staked themselves out. They had their signs. I mean, it's such an immature bunk move. They knew exactly what they were doing. Planted themselves right in front of the cameras. They're just trying. It's a scorched earth philosophy from the Democrats. They're just trying to embarrass people. I think they embarrass themselves. We're a more civil society than that.
But the rudeness from Robert De Niro to the celebrities to lawmakers, everyone feels as though they're like fourth graders who first learned to curse for the first time.
It's the resistance movement. It's Viva la Resistance. Did I say that right?
We're about to get that.
How was my accent?
We actually don't know that person's name. We're soon going to find out the person who wrote that.
That was the lawyer.
The Inspector General knows it. Congressional investigators ought to know it. And remember what plays out now. You've got Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy, John Ratcliffe. They've got to see documents back from the Department of Justice. This fight. And when they bring up Mr. Wray and the Deputy Attorney General next week before Judiciary, that's going to be fascinating. And here's Strzok, who wants to testify. Playing the victim card.
How do you play the victim card? We got your text.
Somebody might get impeached at the Department of Justice.
I think that might be a good hearing.
Thank you so much.
Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
11 minutes after the top of the hour. Now we have some more headlines for you. Outrage in California as lawmakers are moving toward overhauling use of force rules. The bill would elevate the standard for using deadly force from reasonable to necessary. Pro-police groups say it could make officers hesitant to approach suspects out of fear that they could be prosecuted later.
It always blows me away when law enforcement fear for their life only when they're facing black and brown people.
The measure is now headed for a second committee vote. The U.S. Navy is dropping live bombs right here in the U.S. It's happening in Ocala National Forest down in Florida, north of Orlando. The Navy training exercises started on Monday and are scheduled to last through tomorrow. The explosions may scare wildlife out of the forest.
Scares me.
And onto nearby roads or neighborhoods. So if you're driving in that area, be careful.
Look out for the baboon.
President Trump is heading to Minnesota today. It is his first visit to the land of 10,000 lakes since taking office. The president's going to hold a roundtable event with representatives from the mining and steel industry, followed by a rally in Duluth. President Trump will be joined by Republican congressional candidate Pete Stauber, who is running in a traditionally Democratic district.
They need a bigger venue.
Talk about embracing freedom. President Trump hugging the American flag after giving a speech to business owners in Washington. The president clapping as he was walking off the stage at the National Federation of Independent Businesses. It is not the first time the president has taken the flag in his arms. He did it during a campaign rally in Tampa back in 2016. And Brian, would you like to make another comment?
I just want to say the rally in Minnesota is so popular, they had to move it to a bigger area. And they invited the Democratic governor of Minnesota to join him, Governor Dayton. He says he has another gig. He has another booking. So he can't go to the president.
Something more important than the president?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'll read now. That's the awkward pause. The U.S. now out of the UN Human Rights Council. Ambassador Nikki Haley calling it a cesspool of political bias, close quote. Reaction from White House National Security Advisor John Bolton next.
Plus, you know him and you love him as Superman.
Oh, one more thing. If you ever need to find me, all you have to do is look up.
Well, now Dean Cain is trading in his cape to become a cop. He's going to join us with his brand new uniform coming up.
Can he still fly?
For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias. The council ceases to be worthy of its name. Such a council, in fact, damages the cause of human rights.
And with that, yesterday, Nikki Haley at the State Department, along with Mike Pompeo, announced the United States would be withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. Haley, a year ago, said, unless there are necessary changes and reforms to this part of the United Nations, we're out. Well, yesterday, they made good on it, and they pulled the plug.
Yeah, some of the Congo is there, not known for the human rights practices. Saudi Arabia's been on it, not known for the human rights practices. We've also looked at the members and said, why do we want to be a part of this, taking marching orders from them? Ambassador Bolton said this move was a godsend.
This decision, in many respects, has been decades in the making. The Human Rights Council, its predecessor, the Human Rights Commission, were really not places where human rights was a priority. If it's the right decision to defund the Human Rights Council and the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and it's something I think that goes to the broader question of American sovereignty. You know, we're actually self-governing in this country. We have a constitution, we make our share of mistakes, and we correct our mistakes. That's what this is about, self-government.
Yeah, he went on to say that they're trying to tell us how to run our own government, how to govern. And if you look at the statistics back from 2006 to 2016, the Human Rights Council has condemned Israel 68 times. They condemned Syria 20 times and Iran 6 times.
Right, exactly. One of the things he said yesterday and today as well is we were leaving because of the bias, the unfair bias against Israel. John Bolton himself said back in 2006, this thing, when they were creating it, is a bad idea. So today, he was happy to see that we are no longer a part of it.
But they say that it has nothing to do with it. It was just a coincidence. But they did condemn our border policy.
High Commissioner did yesterday.
High Commissioner did. So then we withdrew the next day. So he said it was just a coincidence.
That's what he told us on his show.
Right.
Anyway, what do you think about that? Let us know. Friends at FoxNews.com.
All right, 20 minutes after the hour. A lot of talk about what's happening on our southern border. So what is it really like? Griff Jenkins getting a firsthand look on the front lines with Customs and Border Patrol. That'll be next.
And are you tired yet?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
This morning, more proof that President Trump is making the economy great again.
It's Winning Wednesday.
I do it for the love. I do it for the love.
7:24 here in New York City. Time now for your news by the numbers. First, 16 years. That's how long it's been since the Social Security disability claims have been this low. 8.6 million American workers received the benefits in May. It's just the latest evidence of a strong economy under this president. Next, nearly $18,000. That's how much cash was completely shredded and destroyed by rats. Oh my goodness, it happened inside an ATM machine in India. Critters got in there, chewed it up.
Critters.
And
I love that word.
211 gallons. That's how much beer World Cup fans have already drank in Russia at one bar. Fans hung out to dry because many Russian bars, restaurants, and even suppliers are quickly running low on brew.
Really?
Wow, it's an emergency.
And that is some of the news.
All right, meanwhile, as the immigration debate heats up, there are more than 16,000 agents policing the U.S.-Mexican border to keep it safe.
Yep, our Griff Jenkins followed them and got a firsthand look at what it's like to be down there on the front lines.
More illegal immigrants have been apprehended crossing the U.S.-Mexico border here in the Rio Grande Valley sector than at any other point of the entire U.S.-Mexico border. Many of them taking this very path.
So, Griff, this is one of the crossings that is exclusively used by the cartels to smuggle family units. And you can see all the trash, huge numbers.
This looks like a children's backpack. Chief, you see here a diaper. So clearly a very small.
Yes.
An infant was brought here.
That group that we apprehended, that group of 17 crossed this very spot today.
They did, this actual spot. Chief Padilla has brought us where 17 migrants have been stopped, apprehended for crossing illegally. Chief, what do we got here?
Griff, so what you have here is a group of illegal aliens, primarily composed of family units and potentially some unaccompanied children.
Chief, can you ask her if she's frightened? coming as an unaccompanied minor?
No fue yo he escuchado que
She has heard that we treat them right.
She has heard that we treat them right.
So this gentleman is saying he's coming from Guatemala, zero idea on a zero tolerance policy.
Will these children be separated right now from their parents? Will it happen at the center? What will happen to them?
Absolutely not. They are transported to the processing center. At that time, we start running checks on the adults, see if there's any criminal history, any immigration history. They're processed accordingly. If they are eligible for prosecution, we will prosecute the adults that have entered illegally. When somebody is put through the process of prosecution, they are temporarily separated from the children, just like any U.S. citizen would be. It's a difficult situation, not ideal, but we reach numbers that are just, become a crisis. We need to get Congress to do something with the immigration law and make sure that we can address the situation. These people are not trying to evade the Border Patrol. They're actually looking for us to turn themselves in. And what happens with that is if there is no consequence to an illegal entry, it keeps growing and growing and growing.
Then the calls came in. More illegals attempting to cross, and the chase was on.
Right now, this is a pursuit of an agent. A sensor from a tower set it off, and we're following up on this right now.
These 5 were a group of 13 that the helicopter spotted. They're actually still working some of the group. Of course, we chased one back. That's what we call a turn back. Back in the water, so again, that's what we call a turn back when they make it back into Mexico.
So you got away, but at least you turned him back.
It's a turn back. He'll be back, and we'll be here.
He'll be back because they continuously try.
And to his point, he said, look, the people who are coming into the country illegally, they want to get caught, so they are part of the system, and the federal government takes care of them until we figure out whether or not they get to stay.
All right.
Makes sense, because if not, they would have to have. Where would they go? If they don't get caught, they just come over the border and then try to assimilate into society?
Absolutely. Happens every day. Meanwhile, more from Griff a little later on. And you know how some people are really hooked on video games?
I could play this game forever. Oh, I love it, don't you?
I love it, yeah.
I mean, it's the kind of thing where literally I play the game and it's like 4 hours go by.
She's loving it. Well, there's a new warning. Those games are as addictive as drugs. So
Really?
how can you treat that and go cold turkey? We've got some answers.
One of our producers loves that movie. We see that movie
The
all
breakup?
the time. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, it should have ended differently. I wanted them to stay together. All right, that guy right there, the actor, Chris Pratt, he's going viral because he gave a very powerful speech on God and life and love.
God is real. God loves you. Learn to pray. It's easy, and it's so good for your soul.
History happening today. Volvo is opening a brand new plant in South Carolina.
South Carolina, that's right.
Gotta be safe.
It is the Swedish car maker's first factory here in the U.S. of A.
Hey, thanks, Sweden. Fox Business Network's Jeff Block is live outside the plant in Ridgefield, South Carolina. Hey, Jeff, where's your other arm?
Actually, they let us in. Actually, they let us in the plant, Brian. And I'm here with the U.S. CEO of Volvo. And behind us, maybe you see under wraps, that's the new vehicle they're going to make here, the Volvo S60. At least that's what they tell me is back there. Is that really back there?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece.
They say thank you, Volvo, for coming to the U.S. Did you know something, by the way? Did you know Donald Trump was going to be elected? Did you know there was going to be a trade spat? And that's the whole reason you did this?
No, we are smart, but we're not so smart. So
you're bringing 4,000 jobs to America.
Great new colleagues.
Why did you do that even before you knew we were going to be in this situation?
I would say we have a strategy to build where we sell. We are growing in U.S. plus 41%, and then in this area you have the suppliers. You have a great port. And that is important for us because we're going to export cars.
You're going to export cars from the you're going to make them in the U.S. and you're going to export them overseas to where?
All over the world.
Not to Sweden.
To Sweden too.
you will export cars from the U.S. to Sweden. Why does that make sense?
Yes, that's the strategy with our cycle plan, and we are a global company, and global, we are global.
Now, to me, that's news. That actually, and I didn't know that until you just told me that they're going to actually export cars back to Sweden that they make in the U.S. Well, this whole trade policy might be working.
It could be. All right, Jeff Flock, thank you very much with the breaking news. So the Volvo plant, brand new down in South Carolina, they're going to start making the S60, which is a beautiful vehicle. Going to be shipping it across the country and around the world.
Great for that state.
Sweden also makes a vacuum called Electrolux, and they're putting their move to America on hold until this whole trade thing is done. We'll talk about trade at some point in the show.
Okay. Your favorite topic. Right. We can't wait.
Great.
35 after the top of the hour. Now to some headlines. Don't go in the water. That is the message from police after 3 teenagers were found dead in a swimming pool, and no one knows why. 2 boys and a girl were found unresponsive at an apartment complex in North Carolina. According to the health department, the pool passed inspections earlier this month, and the water's chemicals were normal. The city of Austin is going one step beyond sanctuary to declare itself a freedom city. The city council approving 2 new policies restricting police officers from asking immigrants about their legal status. Supporters say that it will make the community feel safer. Last year, Texas passed one of the country's strictest anti-sanctuary city laws, and Austin was among the first to challenge it. A thief thinks he outsmarts the system, but the dope was on security camera the whole time, and you can see the guy slithering into the smoke shop in Houston to try and avoid setting off the motion sensors. Yeah. He stays on the ground the whole time and gets away with $1,000 in cash and merchandise. The owners say he knew exactly what he was doing when he broke in. That guy is still on the run. A toddler hears for the very first time, surrounded by her family. You have to see this heartwarming video.
Yeah, you heard it.
Okay, Janice, don't cry. Oh my gosh, that is 1-year-old Ayla Essler hearing for the first time with the help of a cochlear implant. You can see the Texas toddler holding her ear, bouncing around, her mom and dad crying happy tears. We love our children, don't we?
Happy
I know.
Tears indeed. Oh my goodness, that is heartwarming. All right, 24 minutes before the top of the hour, and Janice, today's first day of summer.
You can't play those videos.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh, when you look at the mom and she's so excited. Okay, let's look at your current temperatures. 71 here in New York City, 71 in Cincinnati, 76 in Mobile, Alabama. Let's look at the radar because Griff Jenkins emailed me and was like, what is going on? Do we have a tropical system in Texas? It is raining, we have wind, and yes, even though this doesn't have a name and it's not even a depression, it is bringing incredible amounts of rainfall across coastal Texas, South Texas, and more rain in the forecast, 4 to 6, even 8 inches of rainfall. So Griff, I apologize. Seek shelter, my friend. Here's your forecast today. Again, we're going to see the potential for showers and thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast, the threat for stronger to severe storms across the central U.S., back towards the mid-Atlantic along this frontal boundary, and then we have that warm air across portions of the south and the southern plains. Heat advisories for the southwest, where it's going to be dangerously hot over the next couple of days. And producers are telling me I'm going to walk over to the couch right now. So follow me. Here we go.
That's right.
You know why?
Because yesterday we were talking with Janice about how she had seen the MTV video.
I just had a wardrobe malfunction. Oh, hi.
Hello. Maybe the walking over here wasn't such a good idea.
Maybe not.
Anyway, Chris Pratt was at the MTV Awards, and Janice was saying, did you see it? Because it was so inspirational, right?
It really was. You know, we see these award shows recently, and you've got all these celebrities that come up, and they just bash the president, they bash the presidency, dropping F-bombs. And it was just so refreshing when I saw Chris Pratt, who I really like.
I do too.
And he talked about God, his faith, and how it's okay.
I liked him before, but now I love him.
Praying. Let's listen.
God is real. God loves you. Learn to pray. It's easy, and it's so good for your soul. People are going to tell you you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You are imperfect. There is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it.
Those are just some of his 9 rules for life. You know, we're in commencement season.
Yeah.
That's stuff to live by right there.
So good.
And I love that people were cheering.
Yeah.
Too,
That's what
God.
we need to hear more of.
He went on to say, earn it. He said, reach out to someone in pain, be strong, be humble, and do not bully other people. Really, really great, touching speech.
So he's a guy that was on Parks and Recreation, was kind of fat, and they said he wanted to get a job on Moneyball. So they go, you're too fat to play this pitcher. So he lost about 40 pounds, became a workout maven. And he also took 5th place in the state wrestling championship. And his coach said, what do you want to do when you graduate? He says, I don't know, but I'm going to be famous. I'm going to make a blank ton of money. I think he's well on his way.
I think he earned it, right?
Along the way, he developed those 9 points. And they're good ones. Thank
What
you
a good
very much.
example.
Yeah, he's married to Anna Faris. They just went through a divorce, and it was amicable. They said that they were going to raise their son. His name's Jack, and he mentioned Jack in the speech and said, one day you're going to hear this son. Thanked his parents, said, we didn't have any money growing up, but we laughed a lot, and we still do.
That is a great example for future celebrities and their speeches.
So anyway, Janice, thank you very much
Oh,
for
you're
telling us all
welcome.
about it.
Hi.
All right.
Can I stay here?
Yeah, why not? We got another hour and 20 minutes. You want to stay on the couch?
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to have another malfunction.
All right. Meanwhile, a disgusting cartoon being spread on social media with instructions on how to kill ICE agents. Acting ICE Director Tom Homan, not going to like it. He's with us in 19 minutes.
Plus, you have Inspector General Michael Horowitz dropping this bombshell, and there was a lot of them during the testimony on Capitol Hill.
We did not have confidence that the decision of Deputy Assistant Director Strzok to prioritize the Russia investigation was free from bias in light of his text messages.
So they got rid of him, but meanwhile, we're stuck with him. He's still got a job. Congressman Ron DeSantis was at the hearing. He will join us. That's why we put him on the big screen.
What about the record you hide behind that mail to you? I think the things are something that...
Some quick headlines right now. Trouble could be brewing at Starbucks. The company is closing 150 of their underperforming stores. You know who you are. That'll happen next year. That's about 3 times as many as it typically closes. Starbucks expects sales to rise just 1% in the 3rd quarter. And you could soon get your medicine delivered right to your front door. CVS is announcing it will start making prescription deliveries across the country. You can also order things like allergy medicine and baby products. The service will cost $5 for the next day delivery. Orders can be placed on the CVS app or by calling the store. That might be problematic, but who knows? Steve.
That sounds handy. Meanwhile, grilled on the Hill, the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, revealing a new bombshell on day 2 of the testimony.
We did not have confidence that the decision of Deputy Assistant Director Strzok to prioritize the Russia investigation was free from bias in light of his text messages.
The Inspector General admitting his team is investigating texts sent by anti-Trump FBI agent, that man right there, Peter Strzok, and whether they influenced the Russia probe. This, as we learned, Strzok has been escorted from FBI headquarters a couple of days ago. Our next guest questioned Horowitz on the Hill yesterday. House Oversight Committee member, Congressman Ron DeSantis. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Good morning.
Well, you know, it was jaw-dropping for the Inspector General to admit, yeah, there was bias. In fact, there was a lot of bias with these FBI agents.
And the bias infected what Strzok was doing. I mean, you go back to the spring of 2016, Donald Trump beats Ted Cruz, Indiana primary, shows up the nomination. What does Strzok say to Lisa Page? Texts her, well, now pressure begins to bring the Clinton investigation to a conclusion, because he was looking and said, hey, we got to stop Trump. And of course, he's the one who did things like edit Comey's statement to remove gross negligence. He opens up the counterintelligence investigation against Trump's campaign based off almost nothing.
Right.
And then a week after he does that is the infamous message that we got for the first time with the IG saying, no, 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 Trump won't win. We'll stop him. And how will we stop him? Well, he answered that question the next week when he texted Lisa Page and said, we can't take the risk of a Trump presidency. We need an insurance policy. So this Russia collusion thing was infected by bias from the start. The legitimacy of this thing is gone. And I think that that was very plain to see for the American people with Horowitz Horowitz's testimony. Strzok made a conscious decision in the fall campaign to not pursue Hillary's emails because he was trying to further this collusion narrative.
Right. And the IG did say there were 5 FBI agents who were super anti-Trumpers, and in fact, he has referred them for investigation. All 5 worked on the Hillary case. But, Congressman, it's hard to understand how, if somebody is so biased and they are running the investigation, how that could not impact the outcome. In this case, whether or not to go after Hillary Clinton criminally.
Of course. I mean, look, he's there editing the statement that Comey gave saying, well, actually, we don't know if foreign actors hacked into the email, when that was the FBI's view, was that had happened. So he was trying to sanitize the statement to clear a path for her to win. And then obviously how he handled this so-called Russia stuff. He was really responsible for creating this narrative, which many of us believe has been a phony narrative. And that carried on into Donald Trump's presidency. There was a lot of leaking, a lot of media hysteria. So this guy, Peter Strzok, has done more damage to the institution of the FBI than probably any agent in modern times. And he really helped alter the political dynamics in this country. Donald Trump's gotten a heck of a lot done, but he's had to deal with this for over a year and a half, and it's unfair.
You mentioned the leaks. Mr. Horowitz did say that he is still doing investigations into leaks, into James Comey, into Russia as well. But regarding Peter Strzok, his attorney has offered him up to come to Congress and testify what was going on. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, go ahead and make my day. I would love to have that. I would note he did testify in front of the Inspector General, and the Inspector General said he did not find Strzok to be credible at all in a number of different instances, that his explanations just didn't wash. I mean, when he was asked about the insurance policy text meeting in Andrew McCabe's office, the deputy director of the FBI, he's like, well, I'm not sure. I don't really remember that meeting. And so he kind of played dumb on it. So he was not credible in the eyes of the IG. And I think if he were to come before the Congress, I think it would be nationally televised theater where this guy was probably tripping all over himself. But I definitely welcome it, and I think that he should do that. And I also think he should lose his job, Steve. Why is he still getting a paycheck from the taxpayers after all that he's done, all the damage that this guy's done with his bias?
A lot of people are asking the same question. All right, Congressman, thank you very much for joining us today from Statuary Hall on Capitol Hill.
Thank you.
All right. So what do you think about that? Email us, friends@foxnews.com. Meanwhile, she is supposed to be fighting for good. So why is a Democrat showing off this poster of Wonder Woman lassoing a police officer? That right there, yeah. Plus, there's a new warning about video games this morning. Those games are as addictive as drugs. So how can we handle it? We got some suggestions coming up.
All right, there's a brand new warning about video games, and it's coming out today.
Turns out playing them can do more than delay a date, like in this scene from The Breakup. Watch.
I could play this game forever. Oh, I love it, don't you?
I love it, yeah.
I mean, it's the kind of thing where literally I play the game and it's like 4 hours go by.
Wow. The World Health Organization now says excessive gaming could be as addictive as drugs and gambling, and Jennifer Aniston has had it.
Here to discuss this is child and adolescent family therapist Darby Fox. Darby, thanks for being with us again. So,
Thank you.
How big of a problem is this?
It's becoming a big problem. I don't know many adolescent boys or anywhere from 12 to say 25 that don't spend a lot of time gaming. I think the biggest problem is we're starting to see little older people, 20 to 35, whatever. There's a huge increase in that population.
How do you know if it's a problem?
It's a problem if it's interrupting your daily activity. What we would say, if it's an addiction, it's loss of control, or you crave it, you have to do it. And even if there's an adverse consequence, you can't stop yourself, you go ahead.
But I mean, why is it different now than when we were growing up? I mean, we played Super Mario Brothers, we played Pac-Man, and I remember sitting on the floor with my mom, and it was like a competition. I mean, Christmas morning, it was fun for us. Why is it now a problem?
I think the escalation is also that we're always on a phone or an internet. It's 24/7. You used to have to go in your basement and play the Xbox or whatever that was.
That's true,
Now
yeah.
it's pretty much 24/7.
And I see a lack of development among people and their interpersonal skills to listen and communicate. For example, here are some facts that I think they would help make the segment better. At least that's what I'm hoping. Over 90% of children, teens in the U.S. play video games. That is an incredible number. I actually thought it was leveling off.
You know what? I think it probably is. It's a high number that actually play a little bit. If you think about it again, you've always got your phone with you as opposed to what you used to do. So we're not surprised those numbers go up, but it's what else can you do with that? Is that it becomes a problem when we're not doing anything else.
Okay, do you have any rules that you can tell parents that are watching? When is it okay to let your kids play? When is it not? What types of games should they avoid?
Well, we want to be proactive as opposed to reactive. The parent that, oh, you've been in the basement for 4 hours, I'm going to take all these things from you. So limit the time. Make sure that they are interacting. There's no substitute for social interaction, as you speak about, like the relationships. You just can't have it as a catch-all at any time. And really limit the age that they're on the phone or have access to internet is one of the best ways you can eliminate.
Right. And now ESPN actually has a league for this. It's terrible. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Darby.
Sure.
All right. Meanwhile, 4 minutes before the top of the hour, coming up in our final hour, what's the real story about what is happening at the border with children and their families? Acting ICE Director Thomas Homan joins us with a way forward.
Plus, a police officer posed for this picture with his son 20 years ago, and they just recreated that photo. There's a big change that will have you all smiling this morning.